Thanks for joining. My name is Amanda Woodward and I'm Chief Commercial Officer at EMPEROR. Thanks for your time today. I welcome CtrlPrint. We have Anne-Marie Fagan and Richard Fosbury. So thanks to them for joining. This is the second in our lockdown series on ESEF. And in the first, if you were able to join, you would have heard from ARC Solutions. Today, CtrlPrint will take us through their offer and how their software works, the tagging option. And they'll give us a full demo so that you can see exactly how it operates and obviously ask any questions about that. So at this point, I will hand over to Anne-Marie, who will take us through the CtrlPrint tagger.
Thank you, Amanda, and welcome everyone. I'm just going to quickly share my screen here. So, as Amanda has said, today we will show you how we have interpreted the ESEF requirements and how we have actually enhanced our tool to make that process a seamless one for you. But before I do that, I just want to briefly, for the purposes of those who may not have used CtrlPrint before, who may be on this meeting room, just to give a brief overview as to who we are as partners to EMPEROR, and then most importantly, how we have interpreted the process to make it easier between you and the EMPEROR studio for preparing your ESEF documents. So just very briefly, CtrlPrint, we were founded 20 years ago, actually 21, this August will make it 21, in Stockholm, headquartered in Stockholm, Sweden. And we were actually born out of an annual reporting agency. So the founders are very au fait with the typical bugbears you will bear as a corporate preparing your announcements and your annual report publications. Now, we have actually developed our tool in-house, and we've always sought to ensure that we keep at the front of regulatory changes and move our technology in line with your requirements and also for the studios. We have approximately 600 plus corporates using us globally, 250 of which are in the UK, 50% of them being the FTSE 100s, a significant amount being the 250s and smaller AIM trading clients. EMPEROR has been one of our earliest adopters of this system, which we have a significant amount of clients, some of you probably on this call, who are using CtrlPrint. Now, the rationale behind CtrlPrint is to streamline the process between you and your studio to make the life a lot easier for the preparers in the annual reporting process. And what we have done, from what we understood of ESEF, is that you're needing to ensure that your full annual report document has got iXBRL tagged taxonomies based on your IFRS taxonomy embedded in it come 2020. And that has been enforced since 1st of January 2020, but we understand this will affect the December year end first. So we'll see the live examples come next year. So what we have done, the existing process as it is, we've built on a tool that enables you to easily have a streamlined process, which is a single file source approach, without having to go off to another system and worried about market abuse regulations, etc. if you were to send it elsewhere, keeping it within that same safe, secure environment. We are ISO certified. We're also SOC 1, without boring you with the technical jargon, SOC 1, Type 1, and those who sit closely with their procurement team will have an appreciation of this. We have to be registered with these standards because we're handling your market sensitive data. So you're already in a safe, secure environment that helps to speedily and effectively process your annual report. So we thought it makes best sense to have the ESEF solution working in the same way. So the key things that we bring as a partner to EMPEROR to the process for you are essential things such as version handling, such as having a clear audit trail of who did what when, which helps to facilitate your audit committee meetings, ensuring that you can readily, quickly, easily, safely, securely, any time of day or night, access your documents, and you're able to facilitate your board meetings, etc., with your PDFs as and when you need. Now, what I'll quickly do is go into the tool, just as a quick refresher for those who have seen this before and for those who haven't, to show you the first half of the ESEF journey, how we have interpreted it. And then I'll hand over to my colleague Richard, who will show you the actual ESEF tool and how you'd actually tag to it. Now, before I dive in, what we understand from the experts in this, and in our development process, we would have spoken to parties such as the FRC. We have put this solution in front of iXBRL community. We're also iXBRL certified now as well, I'll hasten to add. And we partnered with a provider in Germany called Amana for developing this solution. So as it is that you'll see today, it's ticking the boxes that you will need to meet the compliance should you choose to use the tool. Now, let me quickly log in, and some of you are already familiar with this screen. And I'm going to quickly log in there. And straight away, what you will see is my screen has refreshed with a dashboard. Now, this dashboard is where you would go to select your file for editing, as well as your ESEF tagging. You won't have to worry about how the files get into the system, because the experts at the studio side at Emperor would have flowed those documents in for you. And one of the strengths of the tool is it transcends geographical time boundaries. So simple tasks like if you need to get in, you know, sometime in the night over the weekend, you've forgotten your password, you won't have to wait for the Emperor team to be awake or for the CtrlPrint guys to be awake. You can easily generate things like that yourself securely into your own inbox to get to this dashboard. So on the left-hand side here, we've got folders. And if this was your real live company area that Emperor would have set up for you, you click into your company name folder and you will see your relevant annual report folder there on the left. If I were to click on that project for the annual report, what you will see is the screen refreshed with all the sections of the report that Emperor has already prepared for you, including the financial statements sides to it that you need to tag. So you'll easily go in, and here, for example, I'm just going to go into the financial statements one just to edit that from a content owner perspective. So you as a content owner won't need to worry about your file breaking, or if it gets tagged, to then make sure everything is aligned back from the studio side back to your side, and having to do extra review meetings to get a sign off before publishing. So straight away you can log in and you can just easily click on your in copy button there to edit your file. And this, you don't have to search for where the application is. For those who've used this before, it has the intelligence to make a call from the server down to your machine, open up your annual report document. And my screen has now refreshed. And what you should now see is an orange background with a document which says financial statements and notes. And I'm just going to edit just very quickly for demonstration purposes, our income statement here. So I'm just going to quickly edit that. I'm just going to zoom in so you can see better exactly the material changes I'm making. So here I'm just going to go to my 2020 column. I'm going to change that figure to 200,000. And I change the 2019 one to, let's say, 98,777. And I'm now going to save this back to the work groups. I just hit CtrlPrint, save to server. I can put a message in there to, you know, convey to my colleagues the context of my changes or whatever the case may be. I can say, for example, changes completed for CFO, and I hit OK. And again, I'm not having to package anything up or email anything or zip any files. It knows to pick itself up in a secure manner and transfer that report back to the web interface, back to the work group for anyone else in my team or at the studio side to pick up, or the person who will be tagging to actually access that file to commence the tagging for you. So now that's returned back. As you can see, that was locked when I checked it out with a red lock. That was version 45. And if I were to now refresh my screen, we should now see that this is version 46. And one of the strengths of the system is you have a version history. And this is very important, especially from an audit perspective. If you want to retrospectively check who did what when, you can easily go into the ellipse dots there, go into show earlier versions. My screen refreshes, and what you'll see here is a very robust audit trail from day 0, if it were the Emperor team that had flowed these templates in, all the way through to the latest date and timestamp when a version was created, be it at the studio side or at your end as a corporate content owner. And you'll see also we've built in a version history for the ESEF tagging. And my colleague Richard will elaborate on that in a few moments. But just to show you the importance here, where the key features that brings value to the process for you are not lost in the tagging process. So in one same workflow step, you've got the ESEF history there as well, and it shows you a robust audit trail there also of who did what when in terms of the tagging side of your file. And here you've got the version history of all the mapping files that were generated for each iteration of those ESEF versions there. So that's how you can quickly, easily access your document, make your content change, and access the version history should you need to. And before I hand over to my colleague, one of the key points I want to make here, the principle of being able to easily download a PDF as you did before, for those who've used this, and for those who haven't, it's readily available. You don't have to wait for the studio team to send you one. For example, you can quickly click on the default option here, for example, and straight away, what you'll see there is a PDF representation of the file that I would have just edited. And later on, when my colleague Richard will show you the tagging version, you will see cosmetically, it's synonymous in its look and feel to this PDF because it's tagging to the PDF there in an automated way for you. And the old provision we had in which you could download the full book of your report at any time you wish, literally you can select all, or you can have a piecemeal approach in which you select just the particular sections you are wishing to look at. For example, here it could just be the financial statements, and you can click on download PDF. It provides that for you in a very quick and easy manner. The same principle which you'll see later on from my colleague Richard, you can download the ESEF report at any given time that you wish to get a quick view as to how things are shaping up, looking at the full XHTML as and when you wish without waiting for turnaround times to see the changes that's gone on for the tagging, and being assured that you're looking at the latest updated content to your XHTML. So your expectations are managed in a very timely and effective way there. Now, just to finally say, the key aspects of this is to ensure that you're meeting your compliance. For CtrlPrint, we went away and thought about how we can effectively ensure that you're ticking those boxes without having to abandon the importance of having a highly designed report through your studio, because there is still a need to communicate effectively, to attract potential investors, to tell a good story, and at the same time making sure analysts can see in a very transparent, compliant manner what you're reporting to the market. So to summarize for us, we deemed this as a very nice handshake in what existed before in a seamless process between you and your studio, and achieving an effective published report to the market for all your purposes, including compliance. Now, with that said, I shall now hand over to my colleague, Richard, who will take you through the tagging interface so you see how that fits with this first half that I've just shown you.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Let me just share my screen. Anne-Marie, can you please confirm that you can see the CtrlPrint website?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Okay, so the reason I'm showing you this, everybody, is to put your minds at ease, hopefully, that if you were to be looking at the CtrlPrint solution, we have a range of online tutorials, so videos, as you can see, taking you through step-by-step various aspects of the tagging solution and how to apply tags. Similarly, we have a step-by-step manual that we produce, which is very visual and takes you through all those steps. And thirdly, we have a full support team, as we do with the normal CtrlPrint platform, who are able to advise you on how to apply your tags. We don't provide advice or information on which tags to apply, that resides with you as the corporate user. But if you want to know how to do something, we can certainly help you out with that, and with downloads and things like that. So the next page that you should be seeing is exactly the same interface that you would have seen with Anne-Marie. Now, I must just warn you that because we do so many demos, we all have our own demo file. So the changes that you've just seen Anne-Marie make to the document won't be reflected in the documents that I actually show you now. But rest assured, there is seamless integration on your live files. So if your project team are to be making changes to your primary financial tables, they will be reflected in what you actually get to see. And so as a user, you would come to your company folder, and whereas Anne-Marie came over and opened up to make material content changes, she opened up the document in copy. As a user for the tagging solution, we have a different icon here, which is the first one here that says Open in iXBRL Tagger. So again, all you do is you just click on that one icon, and you will download the information from the design files. Now, if you are working in the accounting department, which you probably are, if you're looking at a tagging solution, the interface looks very different from what you've seen in terms of the design report, but it shouldn't scare you. It's just very much a nuts and bolts visual representation. I think my home internet somehow is slowing this down, but it should be popping up very, very soon.
As it's loading up there, I just want to quickly step in to say that although this is year one of the things we are mindful of as well from voices such as the FRC, that having a more digitalized approach to your reporting processes is becoming more prudent as we look to things like the TCFD reports that are looming around your carbon footprint, and also most likely there will be changes around ESG as well. So this is the beginning of the inevitable that is already here.
Well, let's, Anne-Marie, let's just talk for a moment about the actual requirements, the requirement now, and then what we're expecting in 2022.
Yeah.
So while it's only the primary statements that are needed to be tagged,
that's correct.
It is in fact the entire document that needs to be provided as XHTML.
That's correct.
And the FRC have already told us that by 2022 they will extend that out.
Yes.
To cover the notes.
That's correct. Block tagging text.
Yes. And I think there's been a lot of industry debate, whether that will be it, or whether we will look to, to other countries, such as the US or South Africa, who actually they tag the entire document, don't they?
That's right. Well, for what we know, because we're not the experts and we lean to the experts to tell us, such as the FRC, but keeping our ears close to guys like that, we understand that the FCA, which is the regulator here in the UK, who is now identified as the national storage mechanism to whom corporates will submit these documents, they already issued, a paper last year about the need for TCFD reporting as well. So from the FRC perspective, that is inevitably to come. And yes, countries like South Africa, I think the Johannesburg Stock Exchange was the first to have adopted XBRL many moons ago. Similar to the guys in the US with the SEC, for those who are duly listed who may be on this call, who are familiar with the 20 Fs and tagging for that. However, definitely the jury's out, but from what we understand, the UK, although we're in a Brexit transition right now, the likelihood is that the UK regulator may move even quicker than the rest of Europe. So the importance of having a more digitalized approach for corporates and the reporting processes with the studios is becoming an increasing requirement, so to speak. So definitely, you know, the whole file being tagged the likelihood is the regulator won't decrease the need for tagging. The expectation is for there to be more of an appetite for tagging more. And as things stand, I think for ESEF, it's only 190 odd tags that there are, whereas for, you know, the SEC, it was like 1,000 plus. So it's not that many to start with, but it will increase. You talked about the 2022 block text tagging. There is the likelihood of the TCFD and so on and so forth. And at the moment as well, Amanda, just to add, although it's just the 4 key primary financial statements now, in the document as well, you need to still tag other parts in it that's relevant to those key primary financial statements.
How many of those are there roughly?
So, for example, at the company name, that may be elsewhere. It's not, I think overall, we don't anticipate more than 200 and odd. And also, if a client, which Richard will show shortly, has a need to create extensions, that's something, you know, each corporate that's specific to their industry will know how many extra tags, but it's not expected to be high volumes of it. But where there's a need for extensions to be created, to be anchored, that's required by the rule, you may see a bit more tags there. But the base IFRS taxonomies that's required is literally about 190 odd, thereabouts.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Richard?
So, thank you for that, Anne-Marie. As you saw, it didn't work first time, but then second time it did work very quickly. Hopefully now you can all see a white window pane that's got 4 distinct areas on it. Over here, where I'm circling my cursor, in the top left-hand side, we've actually got a representation of the consolidated income statement. Over here at the top right-hand side, we've got the iXBRL taxonomy tree. In the bottom left-hand side, we have a window pane that allows to show the tags that have been applied to certain cells, the table cell properties, the extension properties, which we'll touch on later, and also the calculation properties, which again, we will touch on a bit later. And in the bottom right-hand side, we have a window pane which will give the properties, concept, labels, and references for the taxonomies that have been applied. So, and also here we have a preview window, so you can actually get to see a preview of the document that you're working on. And the drop-down menu here will depend on how your files are set up, whether you get to see all your primary financials tables within one kind of document, or if you set them up separately, you will only get to see that particular table for that particular file that has been checked out. Now, just sort of preempting all this, you can adjust the size of the windows so that you can get to maneuver around depending on the function that you're actually doing at that particular time. And I encourage you to do that because sometimes the default window might be a little bit too small for you to be able to see all the information easily without a bit of scrolling. However, this window here gives you the ability to do everything that you need to do in terms of applying your tags, applying extensions, or creating members if you're working on the changes in equity table, to find other tags that you might want to use in conjunction with the extensions, and then also on a granular level to be able to manipulate certain cell properties, for example. And then over here to actually, it's really important as part of your review process to make sure that the correct taxonomies have been applied and they are representing your company narrative correctly. You can do that from all within this window. Now, before I actually take you through some of the options for your tagging, it's worth mentioning that I have got this document now checked out, which means nobody else can go into that document and be making changes, be that either tagging changes or content changes. And the other key thing to kind of establish at the start is when you're tagging within the CtrlPrint solution, you're actually tagging the cells, you're not tagging the numbers. Okay, so if you go through your process of tagging and then you save it back to the server and then one of your project team members goes in and changes a number, your taxonomies that have been applied and tagged don't change. So you don't have to redo those the next time you go in as part of your development process. You are tagging the cells. Now, there is one way of actually tagging a table here. So if we look at this first line item here, we've got revenues. I could go to the statement of comprehensive income here and go down through the particular tree, and I could look at this revenue taxonomy here, and I can click and drag it onto the table, and you can see that it will actually tag across the years, so it will tag multiple years for you. That is one way of actually doing of tagging your tables. However, as you can see, you've got a number of different items there, or line items there, and not all of these line items are going to appear within this particular statement of comprehensive income, or if you move on to another table, they're not all going to appear within the same taxonomy tree. So if I just delete the mappings here, so there is another way which we have had feedback from the testers that this is actually probably the way that you would want to work, is down here on the left hand side there's a magic wand which is an auto tag icon. So if I was to click that, it's going to prepare the auto tagger, and then it brings up a table of the results there. But if I go back to this window here, you can see that it's actually tagged the whole of that table. If I click on, right click here, you can see that you can actually change the color. So it automatically defaults to the yellow, which is to say it's pending a review stage. Okay, it won't go to green on the automatic tagger. The feedback from our clients has been that this is a really, really good way of doing the heavy lifting of actually tagging a whole table, and then you can very quickly move to a review process. So rather than hunting for all the different taxonomies that you would wish to apply, it might be an easier process to actually use the auto tagger, which we hear gets between 90 and 98% correct with the tags, and then go through a review process and tweak any taxonomies that are either incorrect or misrepresent the taxonomies that you need to portray, or to create extensions and anchor them. Now, in order to do a review process or undertake a review process, there are 3 different ways you can actually do that. But before I move to that, let me just show you how you can see here now. I'm clicked into this cell here. In the bottom left-hand side, in this pane here, we see cost of sales. It gives you the full name of it, which is the IFRS full cost of sales, and then gives you some other information here about sign logic, which is to do with the way that the calculations are performed. And over here on the right-hand side, you have fuller information with regards to the properties. And if you scroll down through this, you will see that there's technical information in here which are references which the accountancy guys will understand much better than I do, but about whether it's a credit or a debit, the full ID, whether it's a duration or a statement in time, etc. Also, if I click through to the concepts, you can see that it's highlighted here, and you can scroll across and you get full information there, which will be important for you in your review process. In the labels, here it shows all the different languages, but let's go to the English. It says expiry date, the income arising in the course of an entity's ordinary activities, blah, blah. That will be replicated in all the different languages. And then finally here, the references. Let me just expand this so you can see it a bit more fully. You can see that this is to do with the IAS, number 1, paragraph 102. So everything that you need to perform the tagging process and then to go through the review process is within this window. Now, I said that there were several ways of actually reviewing. One of them is to actually do it on screen here. So if, for example, I looked at the cost of sales here and I felt that that was actually a valid taxonomy that had been applied, I could actually move that to final, and that will move that to green. We could also, and I think this is the way that most people will opt for, if you come to options, you can here create an Excel mapping report, and I will just put that onto my desktop and save that there. And if I move this to one side and open this up, this brings up obviously an Excel spreadsheet with all the information that you actually need in this particular to review your taxonomies. And if you scroll to the right, you get the concept name and the concept label and the monetary and things like that. The great thing about this is it is dedicated to this particular abstract. You could take it offline, you could print it off if you required, but obviously if there is an amendment to be made, you can actually either color code or add insert a comment to this and save this as a version and send it back to the person who was applying the tags, for example, and that then becomes part of a paper trail, so to speak, or a digital trail internally about your review process. You can't store this within CtrlPrint, but you would be able to say, right, okay, yeah, we instructed that taxonomy to be changed on this particular day. If I just minimize that, and then I will come back to this particular thing. And then there is another way that you can actually review this, which may be for people who prefer to actually view things, and that is to export an ESEF document. Okay, so you can generate a very quick review ESEF document at any stage of your development your production cycle, and this should actually, it's just saving that. But let me pull up one that I've actually done earlier. Okay, so if you come here, you will see that the integrity of your designed annual report is protected with the ESEF production of files that we produce from within CtrlPrint. And if you come to the display options in the top right hand side and go highlight, you will actually highlight all the cells that have been tagged. So you could very quickly see what has been tagged and what hasn't been tagged. Clearly, we haven't yet moved on to the statement of comprehensive income or the consolidated statement of comprehensive income. But then if you click on the highlighted tag here on the right-hand side, you should be able to see a full expression of the particular tags there. And that would be another way that you would be able to review. However, the feedback that we're getting is that the Excel mapping report is a more usable document in terms of that paper trail and amendment audit trail. However, you do have the flexibility to review the tags that you have applied in 3 different particular ways. So I'm going to go back to this particular window, and then you will see, come on. Here we go. So some of the other features of the tagger are that you can come down and you can see the table cell properties, for example, and so you are able to change the scaling of a particular cell. So, for example, if you have earnings per share in your consolidated income statement, you could actually change that particular cell to % or to none or something, you could also change your duration date, for example, if that's expressed incorrectly. So you can control the individual cells on a very granular level. Now, the other mentioned thing is the taxonomy extension properties. So if I just minimize this slightly, and I will go to taxonomy extension properties. If for some reason within your review process you found that that a particular taxonomy that's been applied by the auto taker, for example, is not quite telling the full story, you can actually create an extension that is going to give the people reviewing, and also the stakeholders and journalists and analysts and people like that, fuller information. You can create an extension, and the way that you would do that would be to come to the top left-hand side and go create XBRL extension to the selected cell. You overwrite the current mapping, and I'm not going to pretend that this is going to be correct in any way, shape, or form, but you simply drag it onto the cell that you're trying to apply, and you can build this up in as many different ways as you like. So you could actually apply 6 or 7 or 8 different extensions. Hang on. Sorry. Here we go. You drag it across, and then you can actually apply another extension in there. For some reason, it's not working for me at the moment, but then.
Sorry, Rich, just to say, if you
yes.
click on the extension button at the bottom, the properties one.
Yes.
Yeah, and drag them into there.
That's what I was trying to do. It's not going to work for me.
Internet is a bit.
Yeah, but in here you should be able to apply an extension, and then you can actually you can anchor that extension. And I don't know why, Anne-Marie, this is not working for me.
It's just the tab. It's still on the tag tab. If you click on taxonomy extension tab again. Yep.
Yeah, and I go back to that.
It keeps going to the tags one.
Yes.
Calculation, and then a fresh go back. Yeah, and then click taxonomy extension. Yeah. Yeah.
There we go. That's right. So you have to click off of it, and then you can bring down another one here, and then you can build this picture up as you like. And then over here on the right hand side, you can have a wider anchor, which will be your umbrella anchor, and then the other ones will be further explanation further down. So you can actually build up that particular extension scenario if you have a very particular line item or you need to explain your taxonomies further. And again, if you were to click into these, you would you'd be able to check your references, labels, and concepts and properties over here on the right hand side. You also have the ability up here on the right to search for particular items if you were looking for those. So you can see here, if I type in revenue, we actually get a large number of taxonomies. which is why the auto tagger is a very good way of actually doing the heavy lifting from the outset, and then you can make individual tweaks as you go through. So we've actually tagged our document here. We need to review. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save the tags that I've actually worked with. So I just click on the Save to Server button, and then that will save that back to the server. And as Anne-Marie showed you earlier on, it will create a mapping report so that you always have that there as a history and as an audit trail, so you can always go back to a previous mapping report if so required. Now, the other great thing about the CtrlPrint solution here is that you can actually start working on this outside of the annual report production process for your forthcoming year, because you could actually speak to your agency, get your previous year's financial statements uploaded as a test document, and work in this outside of the frenzy of the production process for the annual report, and go through that review process ahead of time. And then when you actually come to have your live financial statements within the production process available, you can actually import those tags into the new document. So you don't need to wait till late in the production process. You could actually do this in the comfort prior to the annual reporting process really kicking off, which is a really good way of actually developing up your mapping. And even if you do have last minute or very late changes, or someone reviews something, it's a very quick and easy process for you to go in and make changes to one or two quick line items. Now, we have separated out here the changes in equity statement. So I'm quickly going to download this. And the difference between the changes in equity table and the other tables is that this is a matrix. And so it is slightly more complicated in terms of you will have line items, but then you will have multiple columns or members as they are called. But you would be able to develop up your, again, you could actually use the auto tag. I've been in this and I've done this so far before, so you can see this has been auto tagged. But what you would actually do is go in and you can actually click here. I can click on this item here and I can actually come down here. I can go add a dimension member. And again, there's a walkthrough process here of you could actually click and drag from the right-hand side a more explicit taxonomy for that particular column. So it works in a very similar way. It is a little bit more complicated, but we have fuller information on our website and within the documentation that we actually provide. But it works in exactly the same kind of way. And then you can actually save that one back to server as well. And this is how you would build up and apply your taxonomies. Now, the feedback that we've actually got from our clients has been that this is a new system. Okay, this is a new way of working for you, perhaps internally, and there may be a steep learning curve, but pretty much you will be able to tag your financial statements very quickly within a day and a half, certainly within 2 days, and then you would go through your review process. Now, your review process could be very quick, or it could be very long. It could involve lots of different people, but you've actually tagged your document, and then you only need to make sure that you update it according to your review process. And if I click on that, then finally, from within CtrlPrint itself, as Anne-Marie said, you can create your ESEF document, your ESEF report from within CtrlPrint by clicking on this button here, and you would be able to select all of these. Because this is a demo file, I haven't necessarily extended my permissions. that's why it's not showing up. But this is how you would actually create your ESEF document. And we're constantly in touch with the regulators. And if they make any changes to the format that you would need to submit, we would make sure that we've updated our system so everything that you need would be correct and proper. And if I just go back to this here, come on. I've got a zip file here, which I downloaded earlier, and you click on that, and will have all of the information in here, including the preview version, which I showed you earlier. And the zip file is what you would submit to your regulators. So I think that pretty much covers everything that we needed to cover. Anne-Marie, was there anything that you wanted to add?
No, other than just a few key points. I think Amanda will prepare an opportunity at the end anyway for there to be questions, etc.
Sure.
Things for anyone to consider, irrespective of tool, because from the FRC's perspective, a lot of corporates are thinking of either one of three ways, and one being either to be tagging in parallel as you're working. The other way that some corporates are saying may be doing a separate document post-production to have that tagged. And then the other option is to just have a compliance document. Now, hopefully what we've shown today fits all those three scenarios, whichever way a client or preparer needs to do their work, the system will actually meet those needs. But naturally, one of the strengths is having the mapping files, the heavy lifting done as early as possible, because as we say, the landscape is likely to increase and not decrease around this digitalized process. And come next reporting season for the live report, those files are already there, the tags are stored on the server. And the key points to consider is making sure, in-house, you've already assessed, the skill set for that. We expect anyone who's signing off on the RNS. I used to work in the RNS for almost 12 years and understand the 7M embargo results announcement. So the skill set and the knowledge base that's already there, especially in the finance teams that are signing off on the prelims, are the same knowledge base for IFRS accountancy rules that's required. All that's changed is just a technology to know what to click on to apply that taxonomy to express the same IFRS information you're providing to the market. And this is just a synopsis of a few bullet points, which we can always share via Amanda for those attendees on things to consider when looking at a solution, irrespective of the solution provider, just objectively looking at these key things and making sure there is a proof of concept that you would have done to tick those boxes. And as I said, one of the key points here is also about the market abuse regulations around security and also seamlessness of the process, especially now with COVID lockdown times, working in different environments.
Great.
And I think I'll hand back to Amanda now.
Thank you. Shall we move to our questions section?
I have a question. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I apologize if you've already covered that. I joined a little bit later. Does your tagger work in other languages?
Yes. We support all the member state languages. So there will be options. And as Richard alluded to, should you choose to use this, we go through a training session with you and you have the languages readily available there. Just to explain as well, Val, even before the tagger, how we've designed CtrlPrint to help our studio partners like Emperor, it does support multi-languages as well. So whatever the reporting language of that jurisdiction is, you can have your report reproduced in that native language. And from a taxonomy perspective, where the regulation is a bit different, some places, the gap analysis, for example, in the UK is a bit different. Whatever your jurisdiction is, it has got that language for that taxonomy there.
Thank you.
Answer your question?
Completely.
Okay.
Right. Anyone else? No? Okay, well, we are more than happy to answer any questions you might have as a follow-up about the CtrlPrint software or the tagger. or more broadly, anything, any questions you might have about ESEF itself or the process, you can reach out to your account director or of course come to me. Well, thank you for your time, everyone. Thank you, Anne-Marie, Richard, for that demo.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone for attending.
Yeah.
We hope to see you on our next lockdown series event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.